Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on my mixed bonsai forest. This forest is a combination of North American larches and native black spruce. My goal for this forest is to create the impression of a northern forest with the very tall, tight triangular shaped trees, a boggy kind of environment, and trying to get that look. So it's been developing really well. This is not that old, this planting. But today I've got, you can see the shoot on this larch has shot up here. I'm going to prune that back. I've got the old leader, which is deadwood back here. I'm going to trim that a bit. I'm going to do some general trimming on all the trees, and I'm going to clean up the landscape. You can see the moss is growing really, really thick. So it needs a lot of cleanup. There's weeds in here, liverwort back here. And I've just got to do a general tidy up on the entire forest. In the middle of the forest here, I have 2 dead spruce trees. I do have another black spruce that I could fit in that place if these ever become, if they rot away at the base or something. I'll show you that other spruce I have. Over here, beside the forest, I have my other black spruce. So it's a little larger than the ones in the forest, but it's about the same height as the dead trees in here. So it would look good. I was going to train this as a single specimen tree, but I was going to train it in the same style, that tight conical form. So it is a possible, candidate for going in the forest if I wanted to, maybe take out the one dead tree and just keep one dead one. It's a possibility. So today I'm also going to take a look at this tree, keep it pruned in that tight conical form with the plan that it'll either be a specimen tree by itself or maybe someday it'll end up in the forest. This spring will be season number 3 for this northern forest. So it's exciting. I think it's come a long way in 2 years, and I'm looking forward to developing it into its 3rd year. I'm going to start the work today by pruning back the tallest tree in the forest, this larch here. So I'm looking for a new leader, and I want to keep this tight conical form, so the new leader would have to be somewhere about here. And there is a bud out front, so I'll prune just above that. So here I go, like that. I've got the height set on this tree now, so now I want to prune it to this conical form. So this branch is sticking up, so I'm looking for a suitable bud. There's one very far back at the base here that I'll develop, so I'll prune it back to here, like that. So there's that bud way back there. This branch too is coming out of the conical form, so I'll prune it back. There's an outward facing bud right here, so I'll prune it back to here. This branch here is out of the conical form, so again I'm looking for an outward bud. There's one on the bottom here, and there's one higher up here. There's a couple back here also. I think if I'm going for that tight conical form, I've got to go back to here. I think this bud's too far out. Yes. So prune it back to there. There's a branch sticking up here. I'm going to prune it to here and to here. That's looking good. So I'm going to continue pruning up this tree using my directional pruning, trying to keep it that tight conical form. So you can see it's looking very conical now, this tree. I've got some branches out back that need pruning. I have another little thuja seedling growing in there. So I've got my tree pruned to a conical form as tight as I can get it. And I've got 2 leaders on this tree. The original one, which is dead at the top. The rabbits pruned it off when it was a young seedling. So it's alive up until this branch here. And then this is my living apex out front. So I think what I want to do is prune this dead apex off to that first branch and grow this as my single leader. So I'll get the branch pruners out and trim the dead apex off. I need to come in on the angle here, but I can't get in there. So maybe what I've got to do is come in on this angle like this and kind of get it in the right position about here. And here I go. I'm going to prune it off. Just like that. So I'm leaving my living branch off to this side. Now I will come in. I've got some, pretty strange looking branching on it. So I'm going to take off the two branches that go left and right and keep the one out the back. Like that. So I've got my branch out the back. Let's take the tip off there. Like that. So this is pretty thick here. I guess I could even take it right back. I'm wondering, should I? I probably should. I'm just thinking, it's just too thick that. I might as well just take it back, right back to here. All right. An even bigger cut coming up now. So here I go. Just like that. I think that looks better. I'm just going to fix up my cut on this side. I'll have to get my nibbler and come in and clean that up a bit. So I can get in a little closer here. Certainly flows a little better. I don't have that big thick branch out the back. Okay, I'm going to seal that with my rubber cement. Here I go. Just like that. There's a look at that tree. I'll have to clean up the needles on the ground underneath it, but yeah, I think it's looking very, very nice. The spruce tree behind that larch here is one of my worst looking spruce and had one branch that kind of reaches up in the canopy here. It's almost more like a broom style instead of like that tight triangular form. However, I can see there's a new bud down here. There's a couple of buds up here, so it is back budding. There's one on the inside there. So if this bud develops down here, I can then prune this branch off here, getting a lower branch, and I can slowly work away at the tree until it does have a nice conical form. So sometimes, you just have to be patient with your trees, keep working towards your goal, and eventually they'll get there. There's a good weed I pruned out of there, or pulled out. Okay, so I'm going to keep working on the larches now. Here is a look at that next larch, and you can see the top of it is all dead. So it's dead up until this cluster of branches here. So I've got to develop one of these as the new leader for the tree. I could have a dead top on it, but I think these are young enough that I can start a new leader. So probably this one here looks a good direction. So I'll prune back the other shoots in that area using directional pruning. Get rid of this crossing one. Trim back the one out the back. Just shortening all these branches. Keeping that conical form. Just cleaning some lichen off this branch here. I don't know if that's... I'm not sure that's a living bud back here. I'm not going to prune back to it. These ones still have their needles on. I'll just leave those. They're short enough. There's one coming out the front here, though, that needs pruning. And I'm going to have to come right back. These lower ones are fine. It kind of keeps that conical form. There's a big tall one out the back here. Needs pruning off. Like that. Okay. I think that's got the second larch pruned up. This dead top, once I get a good leader, maybe I'll do the same thing. I'll prune it off. But for now, I'll leave it on there as a dead top to the tree. In behind the tree I just pruned, there's another larch here, and it has the leader coming up at the back and the deadwood out the front. I'm going to prune the deadwood off. It'll leave a scar out front, but this tree is young. It'll heal over, and someday you won't even notice it. So here I go. I'm going to prune off that deadwood now. So I'm going to come in here at the angle, about like that. And here I go. That's off. Yeah, from the front it still looks quite good. You can see it there. Still looks quite nice. So let's get this tree pruned up now to that tight conical form. I don't think there's too much that's really long. Maybe just this one out the back here. And this one I'll have to prune right back. There's some buds on the trunk. This one too is too long. There's a bud on the bottom. I'll prune back to that. So that's got, I'm going to take this one back too. That's got this tree pruned to a very tight conical form. It looks good. I'm going to work on the tree out front here. So again, on this one I have a living apex here, and this is all dead behind. So I'm going to get rid of my deadwood. So again, I'll have to prune back on the angle. So I'll come in. I'm just going to prune it off short for now. First cut. And then I'll come in on the angle here. Like that. And then I've got to decide again, do I want to keep this thick part at the back? Let me get you a side view of that. Here's a look at that in the side view, and you can see this is too thick here, so I've got to prune that off. And I might be taking a lot of branches with it, but it's got to be done. So I'm going to come in here, get my pruners positioned, and start cutting, just like that. A big cut, but there's what I took off, a lot of branches. But it cleans this up, makes a nice flowing trunk line to this tree. I'm going to continue pruning up all the other larches. I don't think there'll be any other circumstances that I need to video. I think it'll be a matter of, leader selection and pruning the branches back to that tight conical form. So I'll do that, and then we'll come back and tackle the spruce. I've got one more larch to prune up, and that's the one back here. And you can see all the growth on the top. It's really, really vigorous. So I've got to prune that back. So again, I've got my deadwood stump here that I'll prune out. There, got it. Nice. So that gets rid of my dead part. Now I can prune all these branches back. I'm sure I'll have to do some thinning on those in spring once they start coming out. Now the apex, interesting, kind of quite twisty up top. I'm wondering what height do I need? Maybe I'll take this side, shoot off the top there. It's got to come back further. That's getting more conical. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so that's all the larches done. Next, I'm going to tackle the spruce. All right, let's have a look at the spruce now. I'm looking for buds on them. I can see
see the buds for next year. There's a lot of clusters of them. But some branches, I don't see any visible buds. And the needles are still green on them. So I'm sure they're alive. So I think those buds will come out later or closer to spring. So I'm wondering, I'll look at the spruce. If there's anything obvious, like big, branches that have grown this year, I can prune them back. But otherwise, I might have to wait until spring to do the spruce. And they're not too far out of shape anyway. Yeah, most of them are in a fairly good conical form. They just need a bit of tightening up if I can. I think I'm better to wait till spring when the buds are swelling, turning a bit green, then I'll prune it back.
The forest trees are looking much better pruned up, so next I'm going to start cleaning up the landscape.
I'm going to begin by pulling out the weeds. So I've got my tweezers, and I'll just grab the weeds by the base and pull them out, hopefully by the roots. Yes, I got the roots on that one. I'll also be picking up all my debris, leaves, needles, really giving this landscape a cleanup. The more I do now, the less I have to do in spring when it's, the busy season. So all this cleanup work you can get out of the way in winter. So in spring you can just watch it all grow in and all your work is pretty well done.
I've got some more weeds to pull out here. I've got a whole section of liverwort that's got to get pulled out.
Here's that section of liverwort, so I'll just start pulling. Nasty stuff. So liverwort kind of forms a mat, and they're like fine, I don't think they're root hairs, but they're kind of like hairs that come off the bottom of them. Creates a mat. So I just pull the whole mat off, and then I can put some fresh bonsai soil down and plant some moss, and hopefully, you get most of it out. You just keep weeding all throughout the summer. You can see I'm having to clear out quite a large section. There was liverwort in with some of the moss, so I've got to get it all out. Otherwise it'll just keep coming back. You can see it up in here.
I finally got all my liverwort and weeds pulled out of the planting, so you can see there's a lot of soil showing. So I'm going to have to go in now, fill that up with bonsai soil, top it up, and then plant new moss on top. I'll get the moss from outside. I'll bring it in and unfreeze it. It's sitting in trays, just frozen.
All right, let's head outside now and see if I can find that moss. I know I have some somewhere here. Right here. Here it is. Oh, that one's like underwater and frozen. I'll have to thaw that out. This one's frozen, but it's at least not underwater. And there's some more over here. So I'll bring these trays into the greenhouse and thaw them out. There's another one back here. While my trays of moss are thawing here, I'll continue to prune up the moss that's in the planting. With my curved scissors, I'm going to go around the perimeter and just prune the moss back from the lip of the pot so it's not overhanging. Like that. Some of this moss is really, really thick, so I'll have to prune it back also in height. So you can see here, I've got like a wall of moss here, so I want to prune that back. So I'll just do some hard pruning here. And it'll look brown at first, but it'll quickly fill in with green moss once again. There's all kinds of spores that have dropped into this older moss that was really thick.
I'll finish pruning up the moss in the planting, and hopefully by the time I'm done, the newer moss has thawed out and I can start applying it to the surface.
I'm also going to be cleaning away the moss at the base of all the trees. So I'll kind of pick it off with the tweezers and get it back so there's a kind of a ring of soil around the base of the trees so it's not climbing up this spring when it starts growing. And I'll also be cleaning up all the old larch needles. So that should take me quite a while. And I think that moss will definitely be thawed out by the time I'm done all this cleanup work.
I have finished cleaning up all the moss from around the base of the trees. I did a lot of picking of the old needles off, but there's so many that I think I'll just have to let them decompose naturally. I trimmed back some of the moss to make it a little shorter. So next I've got to kind of fix up my landscape. I originally had some deer paths going in here, and I think I want to add those again. They've overgrown and there's no sign of them anymore. So that's what I'll do next. I used to have the deer path, one come in this way and disappear out the back, and another one coming in this way and disappearing, so they kind of joined here. So I think I'll do that again. Here's a look at the pathways, how they kind of come together and then disappear around the back of the planting. I think that looks pretty good. My moss in the tray is still quite frozen. There's some clumps that are unfrozen, but I can use those. But some of these are still frozen as one piece. So I'll do what I can. I'm going to start applying a bit of moss now. All right, here I go. So I'm going to put a patch right here. And some in here. So this is a different kind of moss. It's a finer moss. And it'll be nice to have a bit of contrast. I'm going to finish off the landscape by applying some sand next. So I want sand in the pathways and around the bases of the trees. I've got my bag of playground sand in here, so I'll just spoon it out onto the planting. I was worried this was going to be frozen, but I guess it was dry enough that it's not all stuck together in one big clump, which is good because it was outside. All right, here I go with the sand. I'm going to put it in the pathways first. And then I'll use my watering can to level it all and integrate it with the moss. So it looks very natural, I hope. Usually it does. And then I'll put some around the base of each tree too. Okay, I think I have enough sand applied. So I've got to fill up my watering can now and then level all the sand, kind of get it to flow into the moss, and it'll look really natural. Here's a look at the before I add the water. All right, here goes the water now. I'm going to wait until spring to prune up my single tree here and the other black spruce. The buds haven't swollen enough to really see them clearly. So I know in spring they really expand and they get almost like little balls, and you can really see clearly where the buds are. So I'll wait until spring and prune up all the black spruce. Let's fly in now and have a look at the forest. At the present moment, there's a little too much contrast between the sand and the moss, but that will improve in the future. Moss really likes to grow on top of that sand, so it'll kind of feather in the edges, and it should look really, really natural come springtime. That is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.